James Bond is both a series of novels by Ian Fleming and a franchise of movies that really gave birth to the spy movie genre as we know it. In addition to that, James Bond was also a syndicated newspaper comic strip written by Jim Lawrence. And when Jim was done with Bond and ready to move on, he created the first widely accepted and commercially successful female African-American hero, Friday Foster. Today, I want to look at both the comic strip, which has been collected into this beautiful hardcover from Ablaze, as well as the 1975 Pam Grier movie that adapted it. Friday is a fashion photographer who works behind the camera and then eventually in front of it as a model and gets into a series of adventures. She kind of functions like a private eye sometimes, getting caught up in different capers, scams, and drama, most of it showcasing a luxury lifestyle of fashion and travel. Jim Lawrence contracted Spanish artist Jordi Longarón, and long before the internet and fax machines, the two would coordinate their work over the phone and mailing the pages off with 3 weeks to wait for them to arrive on the other side. Now, Longarón wasn't the only artist to work on the artwork, but over the 5 years that it was published, he was certainly the main artist, and he did almost all the pages. Now, it could be kidnapping, or blackmail, or exotic trinkets falling into the wrong hands, that kind of stuff. But there was also social commentary beyond the lead of the strip being a black woman. Specifically, I'm thinking of this page where she's confronted by a Chinese thug about how tough the Asian American experience was. Now, this Ablaze hardcover is pretty nice looking. I dig the overall presentation, but there is one big glaring issue that I have with it. There are some smaller issues that are disappointing that I could overlook, like some areas where the dialogue runs out of the balloons, and also the translation's a little odd. The originals were done in Italian and then translated, while this takes the original Italian and runs it through a translator rather than the original text people would know if they were a fan of the strip. That's not my big issue with the book, but let me at least tell you a few other things about the book that I enjoyed. There are interviews with the creators and their family members, commentary by people who put this book together. There's an explanation of what went into the compiling of this volume and how the work has been restored and digitally recolored. It even includes an interview with Pam Grier herself talking about the movie. That shows a lot of effort and love, in my opinion. What I fail to understand about this collection was all held in the title, the Sundays collection. Every Sunday you get a full color page, but see, during the week you would get shorter black and white strips that filled in the plot. It even makes brief mention of these strips in the introduction of the book, and yet it's never really explicit that you can't read this book because you're skipping anything that doesn't happen on a Sunday, and it's maddening, honestly. It's unreadable. You're already struggling with the odd dialogue, and then you turn the page and the story about the parrot is over, and now you're chasing an ornate ivory elephant. So as an archive of part of an important comic strip, I like this book and its efforts, but a much better approach, in my opinion, would have been to collect all of the Sunday strips, but maybe pick one or two of the better stories and fill them out with the black and white shorts in between, so at least people could read a few of the stories and get a better feel of the flow of the originals. I would have appreciated that so much. And now let's discuss the movie. If you're approaching the movie from a perspective of loving the Pam Grier movies that preceded it, like Coffee and Foxy Brown or Sheba Baby, you could be disappointed that this movie wasn't as edgy. It wasn't nearly as salacious, got a little bit of nudity and violence, but nothing compared to her previous works. It's much more colorful, but all of that tracks when adapting this comic. There are shots in this film when, if you freeze framed it, it would look like the comic strip come to life. Arthur Marks is the director who has a bunch of blaxploitation movies under his belt, classics like Bucktown, which also features Pam Grier, Detroit 9000, Monkey Hustle, and JD's Revenge. If you want to know more about JD's Revenge, I did a video about all the blaxploitation horror movies, and you can find it in my microgenre playlist. The movie has a crazy good cast. Aside from Pam Grier, you get Yaphet Kotto, Carl Weathers, Scatman Crothers, Eartha Kitt, who of course is in another famous comic adaptation playing one of the Catwomen in the Adam West Batman, plus the guy with the baddest name in the game, Falmus Rasulala. And one of my favorite characters is Friday's little brother, who's always running an angle on her prospective boyfriends or gentleman callers, basically pocketing her jewelry for himself to sell, I would assume. He also makes an appearance in the comics, and you can really see the movie attention to detail. Like, it feels like a comic, and more so than her other movies at the time.
Youngblood, where is your sister?
She'll be right down in a minute. What you got this time? Fancy, she just loves your presents.
Now, I don't really have much story-wise to compare the movie to because the book was unreadable, but characters' names are there, and the premise of Friday as a fashion photographer, private detective type while attending parties and dodging danger is pretty much what you'd expect. Pam Grier's the perfect Friday Foster. Even today, you couldn't top that casting. Now, for my money personally, I would prefer Coffee or Foxy Brown myself, but Friday Foster is charming and fun and a little silly and a worthy adaptation of its source material. And I prefer the movie to the book, but maybe that's because I've just still never read it. All right, let me know what you think. Did anybody else get this book and try reading it like normal and get frustrated? What's your favorite Pam Grier movie? Coffee's tops with me, but maybe Jackie Brown's the best, right? Oh, and there's at least one person I know out there who would pick Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. See? I know. Station! See you next time.